everybody. I'm Jonathan Ringel, Managing Editor of the Daily Report, and welcome to the Georgia Legal Awards. Of course, we'd rather be doing this in person, but we're grateful to be together this way to recognize the achievements of Georgia's legal community. We certainly accomplished a lot in 2019. We had 15% more nominations than in the past year, and we thank you for the hard work that went into these nominations, even if each one made our decisions more and more difficult. Recognizing lawyers' achievements can be tricky because in many situations, certainly all in litigation, one lawyer's success means another lawyer had to explain to a client why the justice system didn't see things their way. So please understand that in recognizing impressive results for an attorney, we don't necessarily endorse their clients' positions. Given the tenor of the times, I want to note that this is the 5th year we have issued an Attorney of the Year award, which we started in 2016. That first award went to Chris Stewart for his work representing families of black men shot by police officers. As is obvious to anyone watching the news, he is still very busy with that practice. Now, our program will work like this. We will announce award recipients among our 13 categories. You'll hear directly from some of the distinguished leaders, lifetime achievers, the law firm of the year, and the attorney of the year finalists discussing their backgrounds, their challenges, their thoughts about the future. We thank them especially for turning their homes into offices or small studios to answer our questions, just as I'm grateful for my 11-year-old technical advisor for helping me produce my parts of this video.
Hello.
Hello. Most of our viewers will be hearing today for the first time that they are receiving awards. Our business department will be in touch following this broadcast to discuss promotional opportunities with you. Finally, this announcement was made possible in part through the support of our sponsor, Miles Mediation, who would like to share this short message.
Miles Mediation and Arbitration discovered that Rex Smith had won the prestigious Daily Report Lifetime Achievement Award. We wanted to show our support for Rex and for all of the other honorees. We celebrate Rex Smith's extraordinary career as a mediator and arbitrator. He's helped countless people by helping them find resolution, and he shows up every day with a smile and a tireless commitment to make a positive impact. Rex collaborates with our other mediators and arbitrators and lends his expertise so that our entire panel can benefit from his knowledge and experience. As the leading alternative dispute resolution firm in the Southeast, our neutrals are experts in mediation, arbitration, and conflict resolution. The strength of our neutrals in part comes from our shared values of service, focus, diversity, innovation, and connectedness. This sense of connectedness leads to trust and the spirit of collaboration and creativity. And these are just some of the defining qualities that Rex Smith shares with his colleagues and clients every day. Thank you, Rex, and congratulations to you and all of the 2020 Georgia Legal Award winners.
Okay, we will get things started by presenting the awards for Most Effective Deal Makers of the Year. These are lawyers who get repeat business for how they achieve their clients' goals so that both sides sign on the dotted lines. Our first recipient chairs his firm's corporate department and co-chairs its M&A and corporate finance group. He has been the lead partner in more than 20 closed M&A transactions since the beginning of 2019, including representing Ideology in its sale to GB Group and Sovos Compliance in its acquisition of Eagle Technology Management, among others. Congratulations to David Calhoun of Morris, Manning & Martin. Next, we have a lawyer experienced in private equity, mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, and distressed transactions. In 2019, this attorney closed nearly 24 deals, including advising Advantage Capital to close a complex financing transaction and counseling American Cyber Systems in its acquisition of INNOVATORS. Congratulations, Michael Cochran of Dentons. Our final honoree in this group is a partner in his firm's corporate finance and investments practice. He represents public companies in capital markets transactions, governance matters, and mergers and acquisitions. In 2019, he led a team as it advised TSYS in its all-stock merger of equals with Global Payments. The $21.5 billion transaction created a $54 billion company that provides payment services to around 3.5 million merchants around the world and more than 1,300 financial institutions. Congratulations to Keith Townsend of King & Spalding, and congratulations to all of our deal makers of the year. Now we're going to move to a very popular category for nominations, Best Mentors. This category recognizes lawyers who have helped less experienced colleagues. It's clear the Georgia legal community doesn't lack for good mentors or for those who are grateful for them. Our first honoree has practiced law in Atlanta for 44 years, during which he has guided many lawyers. One such mentee said, since she first interviewed with him, he has treated me in private, with our colleagues, and in front of our clients as his equal. This approach, she added, not surprisingly, has made me believe in myself more. Congratulations, Anthony Cochran of Smith, Gambrell, and Russell. Our next mentor supervises 16 staff members and 8 student interns in an organization that closes about 17,000 cases per year in Macon. She volunteers at Mercer Law School, helping students develop strong interview skills. Within her office, she promotes active learning, as one mentee put it, finding the proper balance between letting a new attorney handle things on their own, quote, without feeling alone. Congratulations to Mika Daniel of the Georgia Legal Services Program. Our next honoree has mentored high school students just beginning to contemplate legal careers. A diversity trailblazer, he has helped grow the pipeline of diverse lawyers and develop mentorship connections for them that will sustain them throughout their careers. This includes establishing the Gate City Bar Association's Justice Robert Benham Law Camp, which annually exposes 20 to 25 Atlanta area minority high school students to careers in the legal field. Congratulations, Harold Franklin of King & Spalding. Our next mentor advised new lawyers through the Lawyers for Equal Justice, a law firm incubator. One participant said this mentor helped her solve years of career indecision. In other areas, the mentor helped lawyers streamline their practice management and prepare for the future. Congratulations, Erin Gerstenzang of EHG Law Firm. One associate said this next mentor, quote, does not hesitate to tell you when you're doing well or if you seem overwhelmed. Another said she, quote, pushes me to take on more responsibility and coaches me through those often intimidating next steps. This mentor is Ty Lord of Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton. Congratulations. Our final award goes to a mentor's mentor, developing others in his firm to help guide careers of lawyers and staff. He believes that the ability to listen is a key component of a good mentor and has been able to help train other firm mentors in that area. Specifically, he has helped new lawyers find the right practice group for them, which is often a daunting task. Congratulations, Roger Martin of Hall, Booth, Smith. And congratulations to all of our mentors and those everywhere. The nominations we received and the awards we gave attest to how important you are. The next award goes to an honoree with a strong social media presence that educates or responsibly entertains lawyers about the practice and the community. The recipient of this Best Social Mediator Award this year has something in common with the mentors we've just honored. Faced with too many requests to meet or to advise other lawyers, she started, quote, water cooler office hours, where she would invite senior level attorneys and junior attorneys to help one another. It grew from a few meetings a year to a Facebook page with more than 1,100 members, where attorneys all over Georgia go for advice, referrals, and recommendations. Congratulations to Jessica Wood of Bodker, Ramsey, Andrews, Winograd, and Wiltstein. Our next two categories are new to the Georgia Legal Awards, but they couldn't be more important now, when we are all learning to adapt to a new normal. Of course, the recipients of the Legal Innovator of the Year and the Most Innovative Law Firm Awards weren't aware of the coronavirus last year, but their examples of tackling problems creatively may inspire us all. The Legal Innovator of the Year this year heads his firm's practice devoted to clients who know all about innovation, those in the autonomous vehicle business. He launched an autonomous vehicles blog called The Driverless Commute, which dissects technical, legal, and regulatory developments in the industry. He also developed The Console, an intelligence service that creates real-time advisories on the AV business through machine learning algorithms and human analysis of media coverage, social media chatter, regulatory activity, legal filings, and industry transactions. Here's to the Legal Innovator of the Year, Eric Tannenblatt of Dentons. The managing editor of our first Most Innovative Law Firm Award wanted to drive down departure rates of associates while increasing the amount of communication about one of the legal industry's most misunderstood rituals, making partner. The firm developed a one-year course for senior associates, offering 25 hours of training on the business side of law and non-legal skills needed to be a good partner. For having what it takes to be innovative, we recognize Drew Eckel Farnham. Innovation was so important to this next firm that it created a team dedicated to that very topic. Among other things, it tackled the problem of lateral hires leaving the firm within a few years, as studies have showed. The firm's new lateral integration portal goes a long way to improving communication, reducing errors, and getting prompt attention to potential problems. The firm has seen a 50% increase in overall satisfaction, 93% across other client service and administrative metrics with the new onboarding process. Well done to Evershed Sutherland. A lawyer at this next firm was working on real estate contracts for a national restaurant chain when he noticed the contracts were complex, yet highly repetitive. Using document automation software, the lawyer was able to automate the contracts and other deal documents. Work like this led to our final Most Innovative Law Firm Award to go to Troutman Sanders. Now we'll meet the first of our 3 Attorney of the Year finalists, David Green, Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary at Global Payments. In 2019, David led negotiations for the merger of Global Payments with TSYS in a $21.5 billion transformative merger of equals. The deal was one of the largest mergers among 2 Georgia companies in history. David also volunteers for a host of causes. He helped launch and currently chairs Global Payments Pride Network. Here's more from David himself.
First, thank you so much for this nomination. I'm very humbled and honored to be included. Last year, we completed the most transformational transaction in our company's history, and one of the largest transactions in the history of the payments industry when we merged with TSYS. One of the challenges in getting a deal like this completed was the sheer scope and size of the transaction and making sure that all of the moving pieces stayed on track. Fortunately, we have a team at Global Payments that is highly experienced in M&A, and we had great outside advisors to help us get the transaction over the finish line. The biggest challenge we faced was probably near the end of the negotiations when rumors of the transaction leaked. There is a delicate balance when negotiating transactions of this size, and when something like that happens, it can upset that balance. Fortunately, following the leak, both parties kept their focus and worked around the clock over Memorial Day weekend to get the deal signed. We're obviously at a critical point in our society as far as discussions around race and diversity, and those discussions are long overdue. In the workplace, however, I've long believed that diversity is a strength, and I think anyone who has looked at it agrees. It is a distinct advantage in business to have an employee base that reflects the country or region that you're in. And I strongly believe that it's not enough simply to be non-discriminatory in your employment practices. Rather, to take advantage of diversity in the workplace, you have to be intentional about it. That means a lot of things. One of the things it means is making sure your company is a good place to work for diverse candidates. At Global Payments, we have created employee resource groups to make sure that our diverse employees feel like they work in an inclusive environment where they can be themselves every day. As the executive sponsor of our Pride Network, which is our company's employee resource group for LGBTQIA employees, I'm particularly proud of the expansion of our network to over 10 locations around the world and the strides we've made to make Global Payments a great place to work for LGBTQIA team members. Finally, I think mentors come in all shapes and sizes. Mentors can be people you work for, people you work with, and even people who work for you. I've been fortunate throughout my career to have learned from some great role models, including many lawyers early in my career who taught me what it meant to be a professional. However, having been the general counsel here for almost 7 years and having navigated a million different scenarios during that time, I can honestly say that my greatest mentors have been the 3 senior lawyers who were my colleagues at the company prior to my becoming general counsel and have managed the department with me since then. Leslie Luck, Kristen Lumpkin, and Dara Steele-Belkin. Even though they technically work for me, I've learned an incredible amount from managing our department with them over the last 7 years. Our department truly is a team, and any success I have had, including this nomination, is a direct reflect of them and the rest of the team. I think mentors come in all shapes and sizes. Mentors can be people you work for, people you work with, and even people who work for you. I've been fortunate throughout my career to have learned from some great role models, including many lawyers who early in my career taught me what it means to be a professional. However, having been the general counsel of Global Payments for almost 7 years and having navigated a million different scenarios in that time, I can honestly say that my greatest mentors have been the 3 senior lawyers who who were my colleagues at the company prior to my becoming general counsel and have been the leaders of the department since I became GC. Leslie Luck, Kristen Lumpkin, and Dara Steele-Belkin. Even though they technically work for me, I've learned an incredible amount from managing the department with them over the last 7 years. Our department is truly a team, and any success I have had, including this nomination, is directly attributable to them and the rest of our team. I thank you again for the nomination.
We'll now recognize and meet some of the recipients of our Lifetime Achievement Awards, people who have left a lasting mark on the Georgia legal community. Jerre Swann of Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton joined the firm in 1968 after graduating from Harvard Law School, proceeding to practice trademark law for nearly 50 years. Jerre developed a reputation as the nation's leading expert on the use of surveys in trademark matters. More recently, he has advocated for integrating social science research beyond surveys into a court's assessment of likely confusion. In his retirement, Jerre serves as an adjunct professor of trademark law at the University of Georgia School of Law. Congratulations to Jerre Swann for a lifetime of achievement. Next up is the man whose name adorns the new home of the Georgia Supreme Court and State Court of Appeals. Former Governor Nathan Deal worked in private practice and all three branches of government as a prosecutor, a judge, a state senator, and U.S. congressman, culminating in serving 2 terms as governor. There he expanded accountability courts, funded cognitive behavior intervention programs for youth, strengthened community supervision services, limited terms for certain probationers, pursued successful reentry strategies for offenders, improved the misdemeanor private probation system, and led on misdemeanor bail reform. Here's more from Governor Deal.
Hello, I'm Nathan Deal. I want to thank the Daily Report and those who made this honor possible. I've been asked to tell you briefly about how I got into politics and how the idea of criminal justice reform originated. Now that's a long story. In fact, it goes back over half a century. In late 1968, when I got out of active duty in the United States Army, Sandra and I moved to North Georgia to Hall County, where I began the practice of law. A few years later, I had the opportunity to be the first full-time assistant district attorney. A great experience. But the district attorney and I noticed something, that we kept seeing the same people over and over in our courts. Since the DA had been in that job for a long time, he observed to me that not only had he seen those people, he had seen their parents and their grandparents that he had prosecuted over the course of his term in office. That sent me a message at that early stage of my legal career that something was not working right as it should. Later on in 1980, I was elected to the State Senate of Georgia. I served there for 12 years, and 8 of those years, I was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the State Senate. Now that's where, in the 1980s, much of the legislation that was getting tough on crime came through that committee. Now in hindsight, I realize that many of the goals of that legislation really were never realized. In fact, the opposite effect occurred. Our prison system's population increased dramatically, and our recidivism rate did not get any better at all. So in 2010, when I was running for governor, our son, who was a Superior Court judge and the judge of the drug court in Hall County, invited me to come on several occasions to observe a drug court graduation. It was an eye-opening experience because for the first time, I saw that there was another way that we could achieve better results. I heard the stories of people who had lost everything, their families, their jobs, their own desire to live in many cases because of their addictions. But I saw that if they were given a chance, they could redeem themselves. And they told these stories that literally would make you cry. So I decided this is something we can do in the state of Georgia. So I made it a part of my agenda early in my first year of election in 2011. And I appointed a Criminal Justice Reform Council, and that was made up of the chairman. One of the co-chairmen was Michael Boggs, who is now a justice on our Georgia Supreme Court, and then the legal counsels who served me in the governor's office, Thomas Worthy, Ryan Teague, David Werner, and Kerry Miller. All of those gentlemen served in a very important capacity as co-chair of that council, along with Justice Boggs. Now, Justice Boggs stayed there for the entire tenure of my 8 years in office. In fact, he is now one of the leading experts in the United States on criminal justice reform. But out of that effort came legislation over a 7-year period that almost all of it passed unanimously. I have a lot of people to thank for that. Those gentlemen that I've already named, as well as my Chief of Staff, Chris Riley, who sort of rode herd on all of it, those who served as my floor leaders in both the House and the Senate, the chairman of the committees who handled the legislation, and also all of the members of the General Assembly who voted across party lines and did what they considered was in the best interest of our state. So I say thank you to all of them. Tonight you're bestowing this honor on me, but I really have to give credit to those that I have already mentioned because they're the ones who made it possible. In conclusion, let me congratulate all the others who will be recognized here tonight in this ceremony. Thanks again to the Daily Report. Thank all of you for this very distinct honor.
One of the traits that leads us to honor our next Lifetime Achievement honoree, Judge Adele Grubbs of Cobb County Superior Court, is how she cares about the litigants in her court. When she spoke to one of our reporters in the early days of the Great Recession, she said, quote, "So many people are in such desperate straits. Grubbs has had more than her own share of tragedy. She lost her husband in a sudden heart attack. Then 10 years later, their daughter, Alexis, was killed in a car accident while returning from placing flowers on her father's grave. The Cobb County Bar Association now holds an annual golf tournament in Alexis Grubbs' memory to raise money for a scholarship fund." Let's hear some more from Judge Grubbs.
Thank you for letting me be here today. I'm very proud. A lawyer cannot solve all the problems of a client, and we need to remember that as we go forward. We can solve legal problems, but some of the emotional problems, some of the difficulties, some of the attitudes, we can't solve. And we need to remember that. We need to get to know our client as well as we can get to know that client, inside and out, legal and other, so that we know best, A, how to represent them, B, how to protect them to the court, present them to the court, how the court will look at them, and know how to communicate really, really well with them. That's what good lawyers do. That's what the best advocates do. They know their client. They know how to handle it. They also know who's making the decision. And they also watch who's making the decision, whether it's the judge or the jury. They're speaking to that person because that's the person that's going to make the decision. Yes, we need to impress clients sometimes and let them know we're on the side and say some things they want us to say, but that's not always helpful. We need to let the judge make the decision or the jury, and we need to communicate with them really, really well and watch body language and all those things. Two most important people for me, my father, who believed I could do anything, even though I was female. And back then that was very, very unusual. And one of the first persons ever to try a criminal case. He just said, you can do whatever you want to do, just aim for the stars. And I did, and I appreciate him. And then my late husband, Milton Grubbs, kind of had the same feeling. And he tried cases, and he tried difficult cases, and we sued people you weren't supposed to sue, and recovered and won, and just did the job we were supposed to do without fear or intimidation by anybody. And he was great at communicating with jurors. He could get the meeting out of his hands. So I respect both of them, and thank you for this honor today.
Moving on to our last honoree in this section, but with more to come later, we honor Frank Strickland of Taylor English. Frank is arguably one of the lawyer architects of the modern Georgia Republican Party. In the 1960s, he helped the first Republican to run for governor in nearly 100 years, win the popular vote, only to lose it when it was decided by the Georgia legislature. He also helped Republicans gain the right for a primary election, and he and his partner, the late Ann Lewis of Strickland Brockington Lewis, won a huge victory at the U.S. Supreme Court, tearing down a Democratic-leaning redistricting map. As president of the Atlanta Bar Association in 1985, Frank organized the representation for 1,100 Cuban refugees at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. In 2003, President George W. Bush appointed Strickland chair of the Legal Services Corporation. Let's hear more from Frank himself.
Advice I might give to a lawyer is the current circumstances could be considered the best and the worst of times in election law. And I would also call it political law because it's now in such a broader scope. It includes redistricting, voting rights, campaign finance, which is much more complicated than it used to be. Election results are always challenged by an unsuccessful candidate. It causes, or at least has the potential to cause people to lose confidence in our election system. And I think that's bad for democracy. My strongest advice to young lawyers is simple. Be a good lawyer. And to me, this means being prepared, knowing the answer to questions before they're asked, learning how to work with people, and always being yourself. I served 7 years as chair of the LSC board. It was some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. Ann Lewis, who's someone I met while interviewing at Georgia State University College of Law for summer clerks, joined our firm and became one of my closest friends and also a regular mentor. In 2004, we represented a group of plaintiffs in a case called Larios versus Cox. The trial of the case was before what's called a 3-judge federal district court, which found the House and Senate districts of maps to be unconstitutional on one person, one vote principles. So after the General Assembly was given an opportunity by the court to draw new maps, they failed to do so, so the court drew politically neutral maps. So Larios versus Cox became a landmark case in election law. And the work that I did with Ann led to our firm becoming the go-to political law firm in Georgia. First, I want to thank the Daily Report for this honor. Receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award means two basic things. One, you're probably a senior person in your profession, thus the name of the award. And second, you should reflect on your career and the people you've encountered and helped you along the way. It's been very rewarding, a lot of fun, and I thank the Daily Report for this honor.
Next, we'll recognize professional excellence by the lawyers who advise businesses and hire a lot of outside counsel. Our in-house legal department of the year focuses on its internal clients' key strategic areas, such as data privacy, patent prosecution, and IP litigation. Combining in-house lawyers with outside firms, the department takes a multifaceted approach to the changing competitive and regulatory landscapes in telephone information security. For how they handle their struggle with cyber criminals, with artificial intelligence and biometrics serving as both swords and shields, the in-house department of the year at Pin Drop Security deserves our congratulations. Our next award recognizes an in-house lawyer who had a significant accomplishment in 2019, and this honoree certainly has. As Deputy General Counsel and Assistant Corporate Secretary, she led her company's legal team through the largest bank merger and one of the most significant transactions, regardless of industry, since the financial crisis of 2007. For her work in helping SunTrust combine with BB&T, creating Truist, we recognize Shelley Willis. Congratulations, Shelley. Now let's meet our second Attorney of the Year finalist, Sarah Geraghty from the Southern Center for Human Rights. Last year, she brought a case for women with psychiatric disabilities charged with nonviolent offenses being held in isolation in the South Fulton jail. A federal judge found the conditions, quote, repulsive, and ordered immediate remedies. We asked Sarah some questions, starting with how the result of the case compared with her expectations when she filed it.
I expected the case to be resolved quickly because the conditions for women at the jail were just so dreadful, and the ill effects on detained people were so readily apparent. I think we underestimated the degree to which conditions that are objectively revolting and dangerous have become normalized in our criminal legal system, not just here, but around the country. One of the plaintiffs in the case was MJ. She was 20 at the time of her arrest and was taken to jail for misdemeanor trespass. She was found incompetent to stand trial due to a psychiatric disability. And remarkably, she was locked up for almost a year, and for much of that time languished in solitary confinement, where she twice tried to take her own life. The case has been and continues to be hard fought in court, and change has been slow. Thanks to the federal court's order, there have been improvements. People get out of their cells more. There's a mental health treatment unit where women do art projects and therapy sessions, but there's a long way to go. We've got to find a way to quit jailing people with psychiatric disabilities for minor offenses while they wait for months for what we euphemistically call competency restoration. The system that we've got right now, it is expensive, it is often uncivilized, and in many cases it's pretty pointless in that people are often released in as bad or worse shape as when they went in. In the coming months, we hope to partner with county and state officials to turn things around. Change is not coming as fast as it needs to, but I know that working together, we can do so much better. I became interested in the work of the Southern Center because race and financial status still determine a person's experience in the criminal legal system in our country. And that fact is so deeply contrary to the basic principle of fairness that we all espouse. You only have to go to any jail and see who we lock up because they can't pay a small bail sum, or how long we jail people for traffic debt and under what conditions. Or look at the people who are spending decades in prison for drug offenses in this state. Nearly 100% of whom are African American. I remain committed to our work because it seems to me that we're at a pivotal moment. People across the political spectrum have been thinking hard about how to turn this around. And there is so much potential right now, at the local level in particular, to create a system that's more equitable for everyone. Our work feels particularly urgent in the midst of the pandemic, since jail and prison crowding puts people's health and lives at risk. And finally, I learned from and am inspired by the people that we represent. Every day, I bear witness to stories of human resilience under the most challenging circumstances, of people who live in wretched conditions yet conquer their educational goals, keep a positive outlook, help the people around them, and of people who have been treated so unjustly yet live with grace and compassion for others. So I feel very fortunate to do the kind of work that we do at the Southern Center.
Jack Dalton became a bet the company litigator at Troutman Sanders. Among his signature wins were obtaining access for CNN to the White House in the 1980s, when it was a fledgling network, and prevailing in lawsuits that enabled the Time Warner-Turner merger in 1995, the Southern Company chosen for its most difficult matters. Jack also fostered and trained generations of Georgia lawyers. As one mentee told us, Jack always demanded our best, but he also made our best so much better than we ever thought it could be. Congratulations to Jack Dalton of Troutman Sanders. Pitts Carr of Carr and Weatherby has recovered over $1 billion for his clients in cases in which he was lead counsel, and he has also defended some of the largest companies in the world, including Mobil Oil Corporation and Pepsi-Cola. Not bad for the son of a well digger in South Georgia who put himself through law school by driving tractor trailers on the weekends and started his own law firm in 1973. Congratulations to Pitts Carr. If Jack Dalton at Troutman Sanders is a bet the company lawyer, Jack Martin is a bet your life lawyer. After earning the Bronze Star and a Purple Heart in Vietnam, Jack attended Harvard Law School, then began his law career at what is now Alston & Bird. But he left to become a criminal defense lawyer, and in 1996, the world watched his successful defense of Richard Jewell, the hero turned suspect turned hero again in the Olympic Park bombing. And Jack has remained a go-to lawyer for people facing the potential of a capital prosecution. Congratulations to Jack Martin. Our final lifetime achiever in this section is Rex Smith of Miles Mediation, known as a true pioneer in the field of mediation. Rex was admitted to the Georgia Bar in 1976, and in his 40-plus years of active practice, he has tried over 100 cases and had a strong trial and appellate practice. Rex has handled over 3,000 mediations and is a sought-after mediator for seven-figure complex disputes in areas of construction, products liability, wrongful death, professional negligence, medical malpractice, personal injury, aviation, nursing home litigation, and premises liability law. Here's what Rex had to say.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone so very much for this award and for this honor. There are many, many people more deserving than I am, and I just want you to know how deeply appreciative I am for this. I'd like to start by thanking my God for all the blessings that He's bestowed upon me all of my life, starting with the granting me of having my parents, Max and Carol Smith, who have loved me and helped me all through life. I've lost them now, but what a great blessing they were for me. I especially want to thank my dear, lovely, and gentle wife, Mary, who's been with me every step of the way and has helped me so much. And for my boys, Ron, Walter, and Nathan. They could not be better young men, and I'm so proud of them and thank them for all the love and help and guidance that they've given me as they've grown into maturity. Particularly want to thank my mentors, Bo Chambers, Wilbur Brooks, and Walter McClellan, who were with me, gave me guidance, gave me a chance to be a lawyer. And I have to point out that Ed Henning was one of my mentors too, and eventually allowed me to be a mediator with Henning Mediation. Could not have had a better person to be a guider and a leader in mediation. And all the people at Henning Mediation who were with me for 15 years, taught me the ropes, helped me to build a practice, and specifically want to call out Mr. Richard Colley, who was a great leader for us after we lost Ed. And unfortunately, we've lost Richard recently, but he guided Henning through a difficult period and helped me in so many different ways. Also want to call out and thank John Miles. John has given me the opportunity to continue my practice. I could not be in a better place. He's done so much for me and all the people at Miles Mediation. And then finally, I want to thank all the attorneys. There's no way I could list all the attorneys who've become friends, I have deep respect for, that have allowed me to serve as their mediator. So once again, I want to thank all the people associated with us, particularly the folks at the Daily Report that made these selections, and thank you once again. Well, I've been asked a few questions, and one of them is, how did I get interested in mediation? And the answer is, like everything else in my life, is just dumb luck. I had someone ask me if I'd do one. I told them I wasn't a mediator. They came back and said, Rex, it's a brain injury case, and would you do it anyway? And so I did, and it was successful, and it was just thrilling. So I then went to Ed Henning, and Ed gave me a chance. Had no experience whatsoever. He was just as enthusiastic as possibly be, and Ed got me very interested in it. Took the classes under Miss Pat Suda and became a mediator, and then just started working through it. I've been asked what I like about it, and the answer is I don't like it. I love it. There's a big difference between liking and loving it. I love the people. I love the attorneys. I love the folks that are the plaintiffs in these cases. I enjoy working with the professionals, the claims people, the corporate representatives. People are coming together to try to find a resolution to a difficult problem. It is extremely intellectually stimulating, but in particular, I like the people. Thank you very much. It's been a delight to be with you, and I appreciate this courtesy that you bestowed upon me.
We will now name our distinguished leaders, recognized for achieving impressive results in 2019 and demonstrating leadership while doing so. We will reveal half of these honorees now and the second half later in the presentation. This honoree worked on a case that touches on racism in U.S. history, which clearly we continue to wrestle with today, and a professor's ability to discuss it in detail. An Emory Law School professor lost his job after he uttered the uncensored version of the N-word, once in class discussing a race discrimination case, and a second time recalling how he was called an N-word lover as a teenager because he was friends with African Americans. Many Emory students and alumni were hurt by any use of the term and called for his termination. Others, such as Harvard Law's Randall Kennedy, argued punishing the professor encroached on academic freedom. Like lawyers who have represented other controversial clients, our honoree took the case, marshaled support for his client from judges, lawyers, students, and professors, and put forth the academic freedom argument before a faculty hearing committee. The panel recommended the professor be reinstated, and he was. Congratulations to Lee Parks of Parks, Chesin, Walbert.
I want to thank the Daily Report for this award. 43 years in the trenches has gone by like a flash, and to have someone reach out and acknowledge the efforts is something that I'm really proud of and have a whole lot of humility about. I want to thank my mentors, Bob Mills, who began the law firm that I joined after law school, who taught me to be a trial lawyer. Chip Peabody, a great uncle of mine who was a founding partner in Austin, Miller & Gaines and a trial lawyer. He convinced me to go to law school when I thought I wanted to work in the child care industry. I'm glad he steered me towards law. I want to thank some of the judges that really inspired me along the way, gave me a chance to become a trial lawyer by giving me great feedback after I did a trial and access to jurors who taught me a whole lot more about what real people think about law cases. Those are Owen Forrester, who was the judge on my biggest case when I was actually a defense lawyer for Anheuser-Busch at the age of 31. Marvin Shue, who told me to defend a lot of the Guantanamo detainees out at the Atlanta Penitentiary, and I got a real glimpse into our criminal justice system. Judge Richard Story, who certified my class action for all of the deaf people in the state, got them significantly better health care. Just great judges. I want to thank the founding partners of the law firm. I've been with one law firm my entire career. Larry Chesin, David Walbert, and Jack Goger, now a judge. They made coming to work not only fun, but challenged me to be better every day and shared my vision of a law firm that actually sought out to change the world. That sounds like a mouthful, but it's actually what we did in incremental ways every day. And lastly, Judge Anthony Kennedy, who was the swing vote in both of my United States Supreme Court cases. I'm forever grateful for that I've come away with those with successful outcomes. And lastly, I'd like to leave lawyers who are coming up and finding their way in the profession with a challenge. Be an agent of change. That law degree is not just a ticket to make money. It is something that can be used to really make the world better. Take on the tough cases. Question government. It needs questioning. And always have a good part of your cases that you do for people who would not otherwise be able to have a lawyer, except for your willingness to reach out a helping hand and give them the assistance they need to fix a problem in their life that can be potentially life-changing. Thank you again for this award.
Now we recognize a lawyer who for 5 years has provided a pro bono legal services to assist homeless veterans to improve their ability to gain employment and housing. He also participates in a medical legal partnership that endeavors to resolve pending misdemeanor charges against veterans struggling with barriers to stability. And we say congratulations to Corey Martin of Martin & Associates. Our next honoree chairs his firm's global intellectual property practice, which has more than 100 attorneys and grew its headcount 10% last year. He also represented well-known companies in complex patent litigation involving a host of technologies: fiber optics, cybersecurity, semiconductors, to name a few. He has led a joint defense group for Cisco Systems against claims it infringed several U.S. patents since the case started in 2016. They successfully narrowed the case down to one patent and obtained summary judgment on a licensing defense just before trial. For these accomplishments, we congratulate Woody Jameson of Duane Morris. Our next honoree recently was named chair of his firm's corporate and securities group in Georgia. In 2019, he led his team in representing a private equity group in a three-part transaction that had a combined enterprise value of over $700 million. His leadership spans beyond high-profile transactions to serving on the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Council, the editorial board of the Georgia Bar Journal, and the Pro Bono Partnership of Atlanta Advisory Committee. For these reasons, we congratulate Jerry Williams of DLA Piper. Our next distinguished leader won an appeal in the Georgia Court of Appeals that preserved a $4.2 million jury verdict he won against a title insurance company. His client was a real estate investment company that purchased a loan that was secured by property that the client found was contaminated and had easements and restrictions that the title policy did not pick up. These title defects prevented the client from developing the land into a subdivision. After losing at trial, the title insurer appealed. After oral argument, the Court of Appeals ruled for the investment company of this distinguished leader, who also manages a firm of 5 lawyers and 2 paralegals. We congratulate Bryan Knight of Knight Palmer. Now we'll turn to the Litigation Departments of the Year awards, starting with the small firm category, recognizing a department with between 1 and 30 lawyers. This firm represented the family of a 26-year-old motorcyclist who died in a crash. All witnesses claimed he was traveling 80 to 100 miles per hour immediately before the crash, and a police officer found the motorcyclist at fault. But even with all the witnesses at the scene against them, the firm proved that the other driver caused the collision, and they won a $33 million verdict. The firm also won a $5 million Fulton County judgment, striking around 30 jurors for cause, never drawing an objection during the trial, and using a little-known rule to get a jury finding that prevented the defendant from bankrupting on the judgment. Congratulations to Broadhead Law. Now we move to the mid-size firm category, open to law firms of between 31 and 200 attorneys total, with any size Georgia presence. We are honoring 2 firms today. In one of its biggest wins, the first firm was brought in as co-trial counsel and together won $236 million in a patent infringement case, and also helped a client be awarded $56 million in a complicated healthcare and fraud-related case. The firm also achieved a complete defense verdict on behalf of its clients on claims of more than $1 billion, plus another that kept a $5 billion global manufacturer from closing down. Congratulations to Weinberg, Wheeler, Hudgins, Gunn, and Dial. The second mid-size litigation department award goes to a firm with a host of defense verdicts for clients, one in which the client in a bus car accident faced a $9 million potential verdict. Another verdict came in a slip and fall case where the plaintiff asked for $1.2 million in closing arguments. A jury awarded the plaintiff's damages that ultimately ran to $107,000, which was less than the last pretrial settlement offer and about half of the lowest pretrial demand. In a motor vehicle accident case, this firm represented against a plaintiff that sought $350,000 in damages, and after 3 days, the jury ruled in the defendant's favor, later telling defense counsel that the plaintiff, who smoked and ate fast food, was, quote, a loaded gun due to his extensive health problems, and that the accident at hand had nothing to do with any of his current problems. Congratulations to Swift, Curry, McGee, and Hires. It's now time to meet our third and final Attorney of the Year finalist. Brandon Peak of Butler, Wooten, and Peak represented a man and his remaining daughter who sued a trucking company whose driver crossed the center line and killed 5 members of the plaintiff's family traveling together. The result was a $280 million verdict. Here's what Brandon had to say.
Hello, I'm Brandon Peak. I want to thank you for the honor of being nominated for this award. It's certainly something that's unexpected, but I appreciate. But more fundamentally, I just want to say that I hope everyone is healthy and safe during these trying times. I, like all of you, look forward to gathering again and getting our life back to some semblance of normalcy.
What was the biggest challenge in the Mediation case, and how did you overcome it?
Well, we certainly had some legal challenges in the case, and we had some interesting legal issues that came up. But I'd say the biggest challenge in the case was getting the jury to care and be invested in the life of a person who was from Louisiana, had no significant ties to our area other than happening to be on the roadways at the time she passed away. And the way we overcame that is just through complete authenticity with the jury about who Judy Mediation was in life, what made her tick, what made her life worthwhile. And I believe the jury saw through the evidence that Judy valued her own life. Although she wasn't someone who made a tremendous amount of money in terms of the job that she had as a cafeteria worker, she was a good person who lived a full life that was taken away from her.
How did you get interested in representing plaintiffs in personal injury and wrongful death cases?
Well, I started out at a big law firm based in Atlanta and really enjoyed the people that I worked with there. But the case when I was there was sometimes difficult to get in the courtroom, particularly early on in your career. And so I had the opportunity to come work with my current firm, Butler, Wooten and Peak, and got the opportunity to get in the courtroom and do some really interesting work right out of the gate. To be honest with you, it was more about that when I began my career, but over time I have realized that this is the perfect type of work for me. I love people. I love getting to help them in their time of need, and there's no greater honor and privilege for any lawyer than to be able to work on a case that improves the quality of somebody's life, that makes their life better in some way. And so that's how I came to work in this area, and I love it.
Who were one or two people who helped you achieve your career success, and how did they do that?
Well, certainly my law partners, particularly Jim Butler, Joel Wooten, and my retired partner, George Freihofer, were all instrumental. It's not often that you get to learn at the feet of masters, which I have been privileged to do. They've taught me how to do things well and how to do things the right way, and have just been tremendous examples in that regard. In addition to them, though, I have to say my parents and my wife. I grew up in a household where my mom was a school teacher, my dad was in food sales, and they instilled in me a strong work ethic and an appreciation for all kinds of people from all different walks of life. And I think that that's something that's been very beneficial to me, frankly, because I feel just as comfortable talking to somebody in Hayhira, Georgia, as I do talking to somebody in a high-rise building in Atlanta, Georgia. And my wife, who has been tremendously supportive of me in my career and who has never one time complained and has carried the load of our household while I've been traveling around the country trying cases. My mother-in-law told me early on that no man ever got killed for doing the dishes or going to work to earn a living, and that has certainly been true in my household, but I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without the support of my wife, Brooke.
Now we move on to the second half of our distinguished leader list. First, we look to a lawyer who chairs his firm's fintech and payments practice. In 2019, he represented Fiserv on the financial services regulatory work related to its $22 billion acquisition of Atlanta-based First Data, among the largest combinations ever in fintech. He also represented Gemini in the development, launch, and rollout of the Gemini dollar, a stablecoin cryptocurrency pegged to the value of the US dollar. Congratulations to Chris Daniel of Paul Hastings. Next, we have a woman who in 2019 led a team in at least 12 major mass tort or multi-plaintiff litigations while co-chairing her firm's 600-plus attorney global litigation practice. By the beginning of 2020, she was named vice chair of the firm. In 2019, her team secured the dismissal on behalf of Sandoz of more than 450 non-California plaintiffs for lack of personal jurisdiction in a California proceeding with more than 480 plaintiffs' claims from 38 states. This victory against what is called litigation tourism solidified the personal jurisdiction defense and resolved questions left open by the U.S. Supreme Court in its recent Bristol-Myers Squibb decision. We congratulate Lori Cohen of Greenberg Traurig. Moving on, we have a lawyer who in 2019 created the Amicable Divorce Network, a membership group of vetted legal, psychological, financial, and other professionals working for the common goal of helping clients experience more civil divorces. The network has a vast social media presence that this lawyer manages. She also organizes monthly networking breakfasts and educational lunches on family law. Finally, she started a continuing legal education organization called OTP-CLE, for Outside the Perimeter, and created a Guardian Ad Litem full-day seminar. She is Tracy Ann Moore Grant of Patterson Moore Butler. Congratulations. Our next honoree co-chairs her firm's financial services practice group, the largest standalone transactional practice group in her firm. Her 2019 deals include these two: representing Capital One Healthcare in a Sharia-compliant acquisition and construction loan for the acquisition and development of a senior housing facility in Florida. This was the first Sharia-compliant construction loan closed by the bank. Also, she represented White Oak Healthcare Finance as administrative agent in a $240.9 million syndicated term loan facility for the acquisition of a portfolio of 19 senior nursing and other healthcare facilities. Congratulations, Cindy Brazel of Holland & Knight. Last but not least, as a lawyer who secured more than $30 million in recoveries for primarily injured clients and successfully defended more than $500 million in civil healthcare and fraud and abuse claims. But what set this lawyer apart this year was how he, with the help of his law partner and brother and friends in the legal and medical communities, launched a spontaneous mission to deliver supplies to the ravaged Bahamas after a hurricane last year. After getting clearance to land in Freeport, they took a team from the Global Medic NGO and their water filtration supplies there. Congratulations to Yusuf Alim of Joseph Alim and Slowick, and congratulations to all of our distinguished leaders. We will now continue with our Lifetime Achievement Award winners. In 1989, at age 37, John Zamer led a team that negotiated Hansel and Post's merger with Jones Day, which then was the largest law firm merger ever, preserving the partnership largely intact under challenging circumstances. Throughout his 4 decades in corporate law, John represented numerous high-profile clients on some of their most important transactions. A few highlights include the leveraged buyout of Georgia Gulf Corporation from Georgia Pacific in 1984, its IPO in 1986, its successful defense of a hostile takeover attempt in 1990, and finally its $2.4 billion sale to Westlake in 2016, following another hostile takeover attempt. This body of work on behalf of sophisticated clients shows John Zamer of Jones Day well deserving of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations. Retired Judge Bensonetta Tipton Lane served 2 decades on the Fulton County Superior Court. Asked once by the Daily Report's Greg Land about the most memorable trial she'd seen, she said it's not the cases that stick out, it's the children. For example, during her extensive tours in the court's family division, she'd grow annoyed when parents fought over visitation schedules. A child is not a piece of meat, she'd say. A self-described goody two-shoes as a youngster, Lane attended New York University and moved to Atlanta in 1976 after getting her law degree at the University of Virginia. Later, Lane and 2 friends, Barbara Harris and Leah Ward Sears, all of whom would serve on the bench, decided to form a support group, what would soon become the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. That organization will celebrate its 40th anniversary next year. Congratulations, Judge Bensonetta Tipton Lane. Next, we honor Judge Pinky Toomer of the Fulton County Probate Court, who is retiring at the end of the year after 43 years working for the court, the last 18 as judge. A West Virginia native, Toomer received her law degree from Emory University School of Law in 1976. The next year, she started work at the probate court, first as a secretary, then as a law clerk, then as the court's chief deputy clerk. She became a part-time magistrate in 1997. In 2002, she assumed the top post when probate judge Floyd Probst retired in the middle of his term. She won full terms from voters in 2004 and subsequent elections. In 2005, Toomer provided space for volunteer lawyers from the Atlanta Bar Association to start a clinic to help citizens with estate planning. As head of the office that handled marriages and gun licenses for Georgia's largest county, Toomer occasionally found herself sued by plaintiffs challenging the rules. Most notably, in 2015, as observers expected a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court that would overturn laws against same-sex marriage, Toomer's office prepared modified marriage applications. They replaced, for example, bride and groom with applicant 1 and applicant 2. And instead of maiden name, they said name given at birth or name on birth certificate. When the High Court did legalize same-sex marriage, Toomer and other judges held ceremonies for couples later that day. Congratulations, Judge Toomer. Our next honoree, Carol G. Smith of Hunton Andrews Kurth, has done groundbreaking work in public finance law that has facilitated major civic projects and residential housing development throughout Georgia. After college and law school at the University of Georgia, Carol embarked on a career in 1982. Around that time, changes to Georgia state law allowed for the issuance of bonds and for multifamily and affordable housing. Carol had a role in the state's first bond financing for single-family housing. She has served as bond counsel to local authorities in multifamily and single-family housing and economic and industrial development deals. In the 1990s, she spearheaded a working group that crafted legislation that created a statewide rental car tax to secure municipal bonds used in financing the construction of the $213 million Phillips Arena, now known as State Farm Arena, along with public infrastructure improvements. The rental car tax has since been expanded, so cities around the state of Georgia have access to funds for development projects at no expense to local taxpayers. Carol also served as bond counsel during the early 2000s in developing the tax allocation district bond issue for the Atlantic Station Commercial and Residential District, the first major project of its kind in Georgia. Congratulations, Carol Greenberg Smith of Hunton Andrews Kurth. Our final Lifetime Achievement Award winner for this year is Doc Schneider of King & Spalding. He came to the firm 40 years ago as a summer associate, and after graduating from Mercer Law School, he was assigned to work with former Attorney General and Fifth Circuit Judge Griffin Bell. Their work on the 1985 E.F. Hutton investigation lay the foundation for the firm's Special Matters team, and Doc was a lead investigator on the investigation of the grounding of the Exxon Valdez in Prince William Sound in Alaska in 1989, and in the Dow Corning breast implant investigation in 1992. Beginning in 1994, Doc turned his attention to the tobacco litigation, eventually trying 2 of the longest class actions in history. Over the last 10 years, Doc has been involved in the defense of the asbestos litigation for Georgia Pacific and Best Wall. Doc has also encouraged lawyers to find a life outside the office, a point he exemplifies with 3 albums he has released as a singer-songwriter. Congratulations to Doc Schneider of King & Spalding.
What a nice occasion this is. The truth is that I have had a lifetime of opportunity. My only achievement has been to love every one of them, at least most of them, and to give them my all. For me, the life in the law has been a hurricane of challenges requiring a solution. Clients come to us, want to know what the facts were, what's the law, what are their options, and what are the solutions. Getting there typically requires digging deep into the facts, digging into a new area of the law, advocating, arguing, cross-examining, and trying to get to the bottom of a matter and finding a resolution, whether it be in an internal investigation like the grounding of the Exxon Valdez, or to trying 2 national class actions in Miami and New Orleans, to representing a soap salesman who broke the code on a multi-million-dollar scratch-off game. In all of it, it's been exhilarating, it's been exhausting, but it's been a lovely ride. It took me a while to realize that a lawyer needs a well-rounded life. For me, I came to be a lawyer by day and night, and a songwriter in between. All work and no play, all work and no passion will reduce a lawyer to rubble. You've got to find a way to round it out. But there's an order to it. There's an order of things. First, be a good lawyer. Think creatively. Research ferociously. Write and rewrite. well and clearly and persuasively. And after you've done that for a number of years, then go and find the rest of your heart. Whether it be arts, politics, sports, alma maters, the list is endless as to what the candidates will be to pursue as the rounded out part of yourself. For me, after about 10 years or so of overly lavish homage to the law, I went out in search of my heart and rediscovered my love of singer-songwriters, and I set out to be one, sort of in the way that somebody sets out to be a minor poet. And I found myself in recording studios and an audience of one, but that was okay. It rounded me out. Along with Helen and my family, it brought me great joy and still does. And every lawyer needs a little joy. My career in the law is really the result of two great institutions and an army of lawyers, mentors, that took me under their wing. Without Mercer University School of Law and without King and Spalding, I would never have had any of the chances that I had. 40 years ago, I came to King and Spalding as a summer associate and began working immediately with Griffin Bell and Frank Jones. These were famous, spectacular lawyers who attracted high-profile matters like flypaper, and they put me to work on them. These two lawyers gave young lawyers a chance to shine, a chance to rise to the top. And they were so good and so generous that you wanted to do good for them. Any hayseed could turn into a flower in that arrangement, even one as rough around the edges as me. I also was inspired by Bill Kleinberg, who told me to turn down the tone of my briefs, stop screaming in them, write more calmly and powerfully. And then there's the legendary Chilton Varner, who blazed trails for legions of lawyers behind her and showed us firsthand what it takes to earn the respect of clients, adversaries, and the bench and the bar. What I've learned is the secret to a good career in the law is to follow the giants in front of you.
We'll now take a look at our On the Rise list, Georgia's most promising lawyers under the age of 40. We had scores of nominations, and I want to thank the following lawyers who reviewed each one and provided us rankings that played an overwhelming role in determining the final results. Those lawyers are Jewel Johnson, Assistant General Counsel and Chief Employment Counsel at Graphic Packaging International, Chief Magistrate Judge Reza O'Connor of Toombs County, Shannon Rochman of the Partners Group legal placement firm, Doug Selby, a partner at Hunton Andrews Kurth, and John Yates, a partner at Morris Manning & Martin. Our On the Rise class this year excels in a host of areas across the law, from plaintiffs and defense work, immigration, in-house, government and representation of prison inmates, and other areas. Its members are Catherine Dunn of the Southern Poverty Law Center, Bess Hinson of Morris Manning & Martin, Patrick Darcy, Executive Office for Immigration Review of the Atlanta Immigration Court, Crystal McElrath of Swift, Curry, McGee and Hires, D. Bardelaban of Weinberg, Wheeler, Hudgins, Gunn and Dial, Elizabeth Brown of Alston and Byrd, Pamela Paynato Stewart of Lee and Paynato Immigration Law Group, William Horkan of James Bates, Brannon and Grover, Kurt Kastorf of Kastorf Law, Alexandra Sachi Cole of Penn Law, Yvonne Godfrey of Harris Lowry Manton, Mariel Smith of Hall Booth Smith, Michael Binns of Parker Poe, Ronald E. Daniels of Daniels Law, Jeff Fisher of Kilpatrick, Townsend and Stockton, Austin Bersinger of Bersinger Law, Casey Chow of Southern Company, Andrew Leba of Change Healthcare, Allison Ng of Greenberg Traurig, Tiffany Mallory Moore of the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia, and David Dove, Executive Counsel for Governor Bryan Kemp. Congratulations to our On the Rise honorees for 2020. This award is a new one for 2020, but a very worthy one. Here we look to recognize the Georgia firm that has demonstrated a broad spectrum of achievements in the past year and talent depth. It was a close call, as entries showed many firms with excellent years, but King and Spalding, with wins in the Dealmaker, Mentor, and Lifetime Achievement categories, plus several impressive entries in other categories across the contest, is the Georgia Legal Awards Law Firm of the Year. Congratulations. Accepting the award for King and Spalding is its Atlanta Managing Partner, Josh Kamen.
behalf of the Atlanta office, I want to thank the Daily Report for the recognition of King & Spalding as its Law Firm of the Year, as well as recognizing many of the special people here in our office. King & Spalding places an emphasis on our people, in particular those with entrepreneurial spirit who want to work together to make a difference for our firm, our clients, our community, and our people. Our people collaborate to foster this and challenge each other to be better each and every day. Our culture has allowed us to grow into a truly global enterprise which, like many great companies here in Atlanta, serve clients with international expertise and local charm. So to this end, we applaud everyone at King & Spalding for leaning in and making a difference, to helping our clients solve challenging business issues, and to working to improve the communities in which we work and live. I'm so proud to be a part of this great law firm and look forward each and every day to seeing our people contribute in new ways that truly make a difference. So thank you, the Daily Report, for recognizing King & Spalding as its Law Firm of the Year, and thank you to our people for doing all that you do each and every day.
Now we're set to name the Attorney of the Year. We presented the cases for each finalist to a panel of 6 esteemed attorneys, who through a secret majority vote chose the winner. First, let me thank the panel, each member of which expressed what I expected, that these decisions or this decision was hard. They were Chris Glover, a partner at Beasley Allen and a 2019 Distinguished Leader recipient, William Hill Jr., a former Fulton County Superior Court judge, a partner at Seyfarth Shaw and a 2018 Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Nicole Leet, a partner at Gray, Rust, St. Amand, Moffitt, and Brisky, and a member of the 2018 On the Rise class, Azeda Shashahani, a Project South, a 2019 Distinguished Leader recipient, Louise Wells, former managing partner of Morris, Manning & Martin and a 2019 Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and Sean Young of the ACLU, last year's Attorney of the Year. And now we are ready to reveal the winner. The Georgia Legal Awards Attorney of the Year is Sarah Geraghty of the Southern Center for Human Rights. Congratulations.
Thank you so much to the Daily Report. I so appreciate this gesture. And what's more, I appreciate the Daily Report's journalists and staff. The importance of good journalism only grows and grows as we go through this unprecedented time. And I am grateful to Robin McDonald, Greg Land, Catherine Tucker, and others who dig to the heart of the issue and report on both the successes and the failures of our criminal legal system. I want to acknowledge and thank my colleagues on our South Fulton Jail litigation team. It's been wonderful to work with our co-counsel from the Georgia Advocacy Office, Devin Orland and Ann Coons. Devin was for many years my opposing counsel, and it is much preferable to have such a strong advocate on my own side. I'm lucky to work with the most wonderful colleagues at the Southern Center for Human Rights, including Atia Holly, with whom I've worked for almost 2 decades. Ms. Holly is a fierce advocate and one of a kind. There is no better person, colleague, or friend. Ryan Primorano is hands down the most hardworking person I have ever met and the best legal writer. And Caitlin Childs brings her special blend of compassion and meticulous eye for detail, day in and out. And last but not least, Mike Kaplan from Kaplan Cobb has generously donated his time and talent to improving conditions for women at the South Fulton Jail. This is quite a time to work in the criminal legal system. The past weeks have weighed heavily on many of us. I'm trying to think of this moment as one to recommit myself to do what I can to put into practice the values I try to teach my kids: fairness, equality, racial equality, compassion for everyone. I just got off of a video call today with a woman at a jail here in Metro Atlanta. She's an elderly woman, a cancer survivor. She's scared to death of getting sick because so little is being done to stop the spread of the coronavirus at the jail where she is. This is someone's mother, someone's grandmother, someone's wife, but she's not even got a mask. She uses an old cut-up piece of underwear to try to protect herself. It's totally unacceptable, and yet in our line of work, we see these things every day. We've got to get past this hard-heartedness, the normalization of a system that doesn't value human life as it should. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and lift up the work of my colleagues at the Southern Center, and particularly my colleagues who are people of color. As the events of the last days have unfolded, they have worked around the clock, organizing and advocating, working to make sure people's rights are protected, forming new coalitions, speaking out. They continue to do all of that despite the heaviness of the moment, the despair, the exhaustion, the worry about their own children's future. I am wishing them all moments of respite and rest as they continue their important work. I take inspiration from their leadership. Thanks again very much to the Daily Report. Thank you for your commitment to uncovering the truth and sharing it with the community. Wishing all of you peace and good health.
Well, it was great to hear from Sarah. Congratulations to her and the other 2 Attorney of the Year finalists. And I want to thank you for your attention. I hope many of you were happy learning about your successes today. And for those who did not receive an award, I promise you that your entries were more than worthy. We had some very hard decisions, and I know your work has helped everyone improve. Our business team will reach out to the honoree list to discuss promotional opportunities with you. Editorially, we will have a print supplement featuring more details on these successes in August, so you'll be hearing more from us. I want to thank my colleagues at the Daily Report, and especially the following people from ALM for their guidance and support as they developed an entirely new way to recognize our honorees within days of the pandemic's declaration. They are Claire Sutherland, Pearl Wu, Charles Garner, Amy Newman, and Donald Chalfin, and my technical advisor, Lucy Ringel. Thanks once more for tuning in, and thanks again to our sponsor, Miles Mediation. Have a good day and stay safe.